What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of Shedeur Sanders' throwing mechanics. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a quarterback and would like to get better at reading defenses, check out that very first link in the description below where you can get access to 500 plus videos just like this one where we break down defensive coverages, what to look for as a quarterback, and the weaknesses of each coverage. We also organize each specific video into playlists like man coverage, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, etc. to help you guys retain the info. Info's easy to find and easy to understand. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So now Shedeur has obviously got a very strong arm. He's a very talented passer, highly recruited out of high school. And there are a couple things with his mechanics that are great that quarterbacks should try to replicate. And then there's some other flaws in his mechanics that might cause some inconsistencies and some wear and tear on the arm that younger quarterbacks want to try to avoid. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. So this first throw is he's throwing a pass to Travis Hunter over the middle here. And obviously, good spot, accurate ball, touchdown, obviously. But now the main thing I would like to talk about is this right here, the lean that Sanders has with his head, with his elbow, and how his elbow and shoulder are coming through in the throwing motion before his back hip. Now, this is a problem that so many young quarterbacks have simply from a flawed throwing sequence. So let's talk about that here, right? So anytime that you guys are in the pocket, your throwing sequence starts with the lower half. Shedeur Sanders obviously has a great base, right? He's sitting his butt down. He's got most of his weight loaded onto his back leg. We're going to talk about that with why he has such a great deep ball and why he's able to throw with such touch. And it has a lot to do with his base as this video progresses, right? So the first part of the throwing sequence is always the base. The second part is going to be the stride. The third part is the hips, and the fourth part is the shoulders. So he has the first part down. He's got a great base. He takes a short stride. His front foot is getting down, but the issue that he has is the timing of his hip rotation. I think every single quarterback and every quarterback coach can agree that quarterbacks generate power from their hips, from their core, and from their legs. But it's not so much about just driving off the back leg, just driving with your hips. It's about the timing of your hips, right? You have to have your hips firing through and the football and the shoulders trailing behind. They call it the football should be chasing your back hip. Now, when you see Sanders throw, the football is coming through before his back hip. His back hip is chasing the football, if you will. And that is what puts a lot of pressure on the shoulder, the elbow, and this is why so many young players have an elbow or shoulder pain / injury. So how can he fix this problem? So remember, when we throw in the pocket, we want to get to something called hip and shoulder dissociation. That's exactly what baseball players get to when they're holding a bat. Like the pitcher throws them a ball, they take a step to the pitcher with their front foot, but they keep the bat loaded. They keep their front shoulder closed. So when the front foot makes contact, they pivot off the back toe, bringing the bat through. Same thing as a quarterback, except you're not holding a baseball bat. You're going to be holding a football, right? So when Sanders takes that step towards the pitcher, if you will, or that step, what does his front shoulder do? His front shoulder starts to open this way that I am drawing the arrows towards. So when that happens, you are starting to rotate with your shoulders and you are starting to rotate with your hips at the exact same time. That prevents that hip and shoulder dissociation. Hip and shoulder dissociation is when your shoulders are going this way and your lower half is going this way where I'm drawing these arrows. We want a separation. It's a fancy word for a separation. But if when you take a step, you separate open, there is no such thing as that dissociation. You don't have any torque. And torque is how I have velocity. And using my hips to rotate me is how I'm more efficient with my upper half. Because you got to understand when your shoulders enter or your shoulders are throwing and your shoulders are in this plane right here where they're ahead of your hips. This is an all upper half throw. So that means that you're not engaging your hips, you're not engaging your legs with this throw. So it makes it very hard to get any power on the ball. So quarterbacks, we're rotational athletes. We're going to get the ball there regardless. And obviously Sanders gets the ball there. It's a good throw. It's an accurate spot. It's a touchdown. But this again puts pressure on the arm because as a quarterback, if you're not rotating here, there's only one other place to rotate, and that's going to be your upper half. It's your shoulders. It's your head. Right? So to create power, what he does, because his shoulders aren't back, he's not taking the football back, and his hips aren't rotating first, he starts to lean. He starts to dip the head. He starts to pull the shoulder down. His front elbow starts to come down. You see how overly high that release point is, right? So when that release point is really high like this, if you let that ball go early, that ball can sometimes sail high. You let this ball go a little late, you see how he's coming down on the ball almost like a pitcher, that ball can finish sometimes a little low because of what his front side was doing. So to correct the front side, all he would have to do is improve the timing of his hip rotation and throwing sequence. And you look at all the quarterbacks, fellas, you look at Aaron Rodgers, you look at Patrick Mahomes, even a guy's a little bit more unconventional, doesn't have like the prototypical throwing motion. You look at all the top guys, Josh Allen, none of them have that lean. But what they all have is they all have that football chasing their back hip. Their hips are coming through first. And I'm not saying every quarterback has to throw the same. I am just saying that there are key mechanical things that when you look at the top NFL guys, they all have it in common. And that is what you should try to add to your game. If you're a younger quarterback listening to this, you're a quarterback coach listening to this, that's what you should try to fix with guys. You shouldn't try to have them all throw the same way. I see too many quarterback coaches trying to have all their guys throw the same. You want to look for mechanical aspects of the throwing sequence. That is what makes your guys more efficient in their own way. So to correct this, what I would coach him up, if we were working on his mechanics, right, I would say, okay, your weight's back. When that front foot steps to the quarterback, I don't want your front side to go this way. I don't want you to just separate your hands and your front arm goes here and your back arm goes back. I want you to close the front shoulder. I want you to maintain some weight on this back leg when the front foot hits the ground, and I want this front shoulder to half close. I want the back of your front shoulder to rotate to the target. So now when that front foot makes contact, he's loaded, his shoulders are back, similar to a baseball swing, and those hips bring the arm through, rather than the shoulders rotating through before the hip does. And that'll fix the lean, that'll fix the elbow pull naturally because he will be using more of his hips. Because I guarantee if you asked him, where does power come from? He's going to say legs and hips. I think any quarterback would. But it's, again, about the timing. And the timing is predicated on how you take your shoulders and the football back with the stride. Okay, so that's what I want to make you guys understand about that base, about his throwing sequence. That's one thing that I think he could clean up. But obviously, he's a very talented passer. He could throw the hell out of the ball. So what are some positives of his motion, right? So we look at this very first clip here, and this is going to be like kind of a touch pass that he throws to Travis Hunter as well. Now, again, like I said, his base is phenomenal. His base is exactly where you want a base to be. So anytime that you guys are trying to throw a touch, this is where I would like you to be. Anytime you're trying to drop the ball in the bucket, throw a jump ball, you have to set yourself up mechanically to be able to do so. So that means that you need to have an arc of your front shoulders like this. When you release the ball, you want a higher release point so you could put some air on this ball, obviously. And the only way that you're able to get to this spot comfortably with your shoulders is having weight loaded on your back leg. On a touch pass, guys, you want about 65 to 70% of your weight on your back leg so you can actually arc those shoulders. So now when that front foot gets down, when the front foot makes contact with the ground, those hips bring the shoulders through, but it's at a higher angle. That's where we get the touch. And this actually looks 10 times better than the example that we showed in the pocket where he threw the ball that was low. His weight is back. He takes the front stride. You see how he's got a little bit more of a close of his shoulder here. He rotates back with the front side. That's where we want to try to be every single time. And you see how his hip comes through here, and the ball is trailing behind his hip. So that shows you that he can do it. It just has a lot to do with his base and when he goes back with his shoulders. If his weight stays back, he's not pushing his weight forward, he's not spreading open with his chest, he puts himself in a very, very good throwing sequence position. So to throw a touch, we have to get to that exact spot. So let's play this again full speed one more time. Great job by him giving Travis Hunter a chance with that touch pass. So now this next example we're going to be looking at here, it's kind of tough to see him, but he's right here in the middle of the screen. And I want to talk about a little bit of pocket movement for quarterbacks. So quarterbacks, when we are moving in the pocket, you got to make sure that we always stay in a mechanically efficient spot to throw. So remember, mechanically efficient, that tied into our throwing sequence that we were talking about, right? You want to maintain weight on your back leg. You want a short front stride. As you stride, you want your shoulders in the football to rotate this way right here. And then your hips bring the shoulders in the football through, right? It's base, stride, hips, shoulders. So let's look at Shedeur here on this example. He's climbing up in the pocket. Now, if you want to be more consistent throwing off platform, throwing where you're stepping up, you got to make sure that you stay in a consistent base. Don't be so worried about what foot moves first. Don't be so worried about doing the wave drills. Worry about staying in a mechanically sound spot. So you see how he climbs up in the pocket? I want you to pay attention to his base. You see how his weight stays back the entire time. It's almost like he's got an arc of the shoulder because that keeps him loaded. That puts him in a sound position to where, okay, now I could arc my shoulders, I could have the right sequence, and then I'm able to drive downfield. So, fellas, we're moving back in the pocket. We're stepping up. We're retreating back. You got to stay in a position to let that ball fly at any time. So let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job, him stepping up in the pocket and then delivering a shot downfield to, again, Travis Hunter. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like 500 plus videos all based on how you can read defenses as a quarterback, check out that very first link in the description below. Everything's organized into playlists, categories. We break down everything for you guys. So if you want to improve your football IQ, again, very first link in that description below. I'll see you guys next time.